Good evening, good people. Welcome to tonight's first Freedom Summer Mass Call. Y'all, I'm Ashley Woodard Henderson. I'm going to be your MC for this evening. This is the first virtual family meeting of Freedom Summer. I want you to take a moment to invite somebody in, text a friend, drop it in your group chat, tell the world on your social media that you're here. Use hashtag Freedom Summer 2026. And as you know, as y'all are already doing, drop your name in the chat. Tell us where you're calling in from. Tell us if you're repping an org. We want to know who all is in this virtual sacred space that we're building together. Tell the world on your social media. Again, put your name and where you're tuning in from in the chat. We want to see the entirety of the country in this room. One thing before we get into it, y'all know our environment is full of disinformation and bots, and they would love nothing more than to make this room feel small and ugly. What is welcome here is Black folks, working people, and everybody who's down with all kinds of different opinions and all kinds of stories. We engage each other by witnessing one another, even when we differ. What we will not tolerate in this sacred space is hate and lies. If you see a hateful message in the chat, don't feed it, flood it. Flood the chat with solidarity, with love, other messages, and let's stay focused up on the work that we came here to do tonight together. Y'all, it is my great honor and privilege to bring up a brother, a movement pastor, someone who needs no introduction, the executive director of Live Free USA, Pastor Mike McBride, to get us grounded. Pastor Mike, I'll kick it to you.
Grace and peace, beloved. It is such a blessing to be here with all of our Freedom Summer comrades, all of the loved ones who have been helping us to literally extend what we know, that the South is everywhere, that all roads lead to the South, that freedom is a constant struggle, and that when it's summertime, it's freedom time. It's time for us to mobilize and activate and to engage. I will ground us with the words of the prophet. Jeremiah 22 says that the Lord requires us to do justice and righteousness, to deliver to deliver from the hand of the oppressor, the one who has been robbed, to do no wrong, to do no violence, to the alien or the stranger among us, to fight for the fatherless and the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place. Every movement that has ever moved this country forward has required a moment of moral courage, imagination, and prophetic fire to fuel it. We are calling forward people of faith and no faith, people of justice and goodwill, people who are excited about being the architects of a new world that struggles to be born, and certainly being pallbearers of this old world that is dying. We're grounding our Freedom Summer in the spirit of a moral imagination that our ancestors have bequeathed to us. We're not starting from scratch. We're literally building on the legacy of those who have come before us and fought and killed giants of injustice, of terror, and have given us the opportunity to stand with power, with moral imagination, with prophetic fire that no devil or demon or emperor or king can extinguish. This season of Freedom Summer is a time where our prayer becomes practice, where our fasting becomes fuel, where our revival is resistance. And as we gather, we invoke the power of spirit. We invoke the memory and legacy of our ancestors. We call forward institutions, individuals, organizations, neighborhoods from the depth and breadth of this country who understand that the way forward must be together, that the way forward must be, as our friends in California say, all of us or none, that we can't be free. You can't be free unless all of us are free. And so I and we are praying and believing as we meet in faith communities, as we meet in recreation centers, as we meet on blocks, as we meet in virtual rooms like this, as we meet in our homes, as we meet on planes, trains, and automobiles, that the way to freedom is the way together. The way to freedom is with spirit. It's with practices. It's with radical love. It's with our neighbor being treated and loved as ourselves. And so, beloved, let's ground ourselves, not in the old world that is dying, but let's ground ourselves in this new world that is emerging. And if you can see it, as the old saints used to say, if you can believe it, rather, as the old saints used to say, then I believe we can see it. I'm looking for a miracle. I'm expecting the impossible. I feel the intangible. The sky is the limit to what you can have. Freedom may be out of your grasp, but if it's in your mind, then it is within our grasp. Reach out and do as the scripture says. Learn to do good, seek justice, rescue the oppressed, defend the orphan, plead for the widow. It's summertime. It's freedom time. Let's get free, y'all. Let's get free with spirit, with love, with joy, with peace, and above all else, with power. All power to the people. Let's get free. Welcome to Freedom Summer.
Pastor Mike, we love you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I don't know about y'all, but I needed that good word tonight. I needed that good word. If Pastor Mike spoke a word to your spirit, I need you to say amen, ashe, a woman, whatever, however you get down. But I need you to show up in this chat like he just preached a word just for you, just to get you invited and grounded into tonight's call. Y'all, we also would be not who we are if we didn't kick it off with some of our partner organizations tonight. And these women that I'm about to bring up also need no introduction. They're literally two of the many, 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 many leaders of the Freedom Summer Coalition, right? The All Roads Lead South Coalition that have brought us together yet again to take meaningful action in times such as these. Y'all know them because they've been organizing us and bringing us together across our differences for so many years. Y'all, I get to bring up to you Melanie Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and a national convener, the national convener of the Black Women's Roundtable. And then my sister, my comrade, my friend, Tamika Mallory, co-founder of Until Freedom. Let's kick it off with you, Melanie. Tell us why Freedom Summer. What is Freedom Summer? Welcome us to this new movement that we're building.
Well, listen, I would rather just be sitting and listening and getting poured into, listening to you and our forever pastor and all of you on this call. I'm down here in Atlanta, Georgia, where been going, vigil for a few months now with family member having health challenges, seeing the realities of what's happening with our people, how important it is that we fight for our people, because a lot of folks don't have any health care anymore, y'all. A lot of our people have lost so much in the last year and a half. But also today is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. And so I've been on the phone. We released a poll today that really showed the challenges. But what it also showed was that we, as Black women, have not lost hope. And especially our young people. A lot of people think, well, the young people don't get it. Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. I'm gonna say, yes, we do, because I'm young in spirit, right? But being able to understand that this fight is something that what's very important about Freedom Summer, and thank you, Brittany, and thank you all to everybody get called names and get in trouble, right? Being here with my sister Tamika and all of us. What has been exciting for me is that we came together in such a way that was organic, but also it was in divine order. Because at the end of the day, what these folks think that they're going to do to us, things are happening already. We don't have to wish bad on somebody. Things are happening without us. I don't have to say what that is, but things are happening because the God we serve is not going to leave us wanting. We have to believe, we have to have the faith, but we also have to do the work. And so Freedom Summit is about doing the work, right? It's not about what they doing over there or what they should be doing over here. It's about what we're going to do. And more importantly, what can you do? Those that are listening out there, you can do your Freedom Summer right where you are. You can join this coalition of all of us getting together. But what's important is while people are trying to tear us down, we're going to build. This is our opportunity. Latasha talks about all the time, new nation, however way you want to talk about it. They're tearing down some stuff that wasn't all working for us in the first doggone place, right? But we built we built what they are trying to destroy and trying to destroy us. They're destroying what wasn't working. And now we get an opportunity to build something anew. And so while we work through that, we have to do the things that are important. Our people are struggling out here, losing jobs, losing businesses. So we have to do that mutual aid. That's what you can do. If you don't want to get out in the street and protest, then take care of somebody next to your neighbor. Take care of somebody in your family. Do what's necessary to get us through, because that's what our ancestors had to do, right? And look, I don't know about you, but I'm not buying no letters no time soon. Let's be real about what's happening. They got a fool running in Health and Human Services. So we have to make sure that we're taking care of our bodies. We're taking care of our minds. We're taking care of our spirits while we go through this valley. But guess what? There's a mountaintop coming, and we're going to get there together. Because again, as I close, I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be in community. I know we're going to win this thing, but we're not going to win it for some one election, for some one politician. We're going to win it for our people. Because if we don't, then we'll have to say to ourselves, when they talk about what did your generation do when they came for us? What did you do? And I'm going to say that everybody on this call that's listening, because you're on here, you're going to be able to say, I stepped up to the plate and I took care of business. So let's go. Let's get it done.
We love you, Melanie. Thank you for taking time out of your ridiculous schedule and all the care that you're giving, not only to your family members, but to everybody that I know that's speaking on this call, and many of the people that are showing you love in the chat, the over 250 people that are putting hearts and saying amen to you. We're just grateful that you're here. Tamika, why Freedom Summer?
You would think that at this point we would know that you have to turn the mute button on or off, whichever way. I am very, very excited to be with the family here tonight. I think that if you joined this call this evening, you are wanting to be a part of a family, and I am so excited to be one that is considered to be an organizer in this space, because I know that we need one another. You know, Melanie kicked off into what I wanted to say, is that yes, it's Freedom Summer, it's freedom time, but it is the time for builders. It's building time, and we're building together. And that's what Freedom Summer is all about for me. It is not that any of us or the organizations, the many different organizations that you will hear from this evening and organizers. It's not that we weren't already doing work, but we're more powerful when we do that work together. And we know that the biggest threat to our opposition is our unity. It is calls like tonight where we will find other individuals who will take the time, the money, the effort, the energy to say, I can lend a hand, I can lend a dollar, I can get involved. And that is what, for us, this effort is all about. Freedom Summer allows us to bring attention to some of the important work that is happening around this nation. We know that we are being drowned out. The algorithm is drowning out our work. We know that we are not able to use some of the same tools to get the type of attention that we need so that people know where to find the struggle. We know that the media is barely covering the fact that there are so many of us who are still organizing, who are still in very strong opposition to this government and the fascism that is circling around each and every one of us and our families. We know that work is happening, but we are being drowned out in many ways because of this corrupt system that has found ways to strain the system and to force people to bow down to the bigotry that we're facing as a people. And when I say as a people, I'm not talking about just one group of people. Certainly, I am a fighter for Black folks. I'm an advocate for Black people. But what I know all too well is that there are too many communities, too many different groups of people who are facing the challenges of this moment. And that means that it is, as my pastor, W. Franklin Richardson, would say, pregnant with possibility. It is pregnant with opportunity. This is a moment of power for us. And so when you say, sister, what is Freedom Summer? For me, Freedom Summer is a time for us to make the streets of America hot and heavy. That it is warm outside, which means there's no excuse for why you can't show up, why you can't get active, why you cannot organize in your local community, and why you are not able to find some of the groups. We took all of the efforts that we know about and tried to put it in one place so people can say, I'm on any part of the country, I can find a place to get involved. I can find other individuals who think like me, people who are motivated for change and people who are motivated in this moment. And so Freedom Summer is for you. Freedom Summer, as my sister Brittany said, the doors of the Freedom Summer activities and campaign are open to every single person who has joined this call. And what is important is for you now to go back to your communities, to your families, to your friends, to people in other organizations that you know, to your pastors, to folks who used to be on the front line. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem like they're in it right now. Don't assume that they have walked away or that they have abandoned the movement. Assume that they might need that extra energy from you to say, hey, I found the space in Freedom Summer that we can go and join and continue to do the great work that we're doing. All roads absolutely lead to the South here in New York City, with my partner in justice, Reverend Stephen Green of Greater Allen AME Church in Queens, New York, the senior pastor there. We decided that we were not going to be silent and allow folks in the North to believe that we are somehow disconnected from what our brothers and sisters are experiencing in the South when we're talking about voter disenfranchisement. Because we know that if more than 60% of Black folks are concentrated in the Southern states, that means that what is happening to the South, it is inevitable that it will happen to us in the North as well. So Freedom Summer is about being aware, being active, and knowing that it is the time for builders, that this nation, as we once knew it, will never go back to the way that it was. But it is up to us to help build what the future looks like. And I'm with Melanie. When it is time for my children, my 3-year-old granddaughter, to ask me where was I and what was I doing during this time, I want to be able to say that I was in the number, that I put my boots on, strapped them up. Well, actually, they're open-toe sandals in the summer, but that I put on my armor and I got in and I'm doing the work.
Well, and I'm a living witness. I can testify that both Melanie Campbell and Tamika Mallory are leaders that we should be following, meaning makers, truth tellers, freedom fighters. We're so grateful for both of you being on the call tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Y'all, if you're not already ready to join the Freedom Summer family, I'm ready to go right now. So if you're ready to go, I want you to say we're going to do this together in the chat. If you're already ready, I want you to say together in the chat. I want you to go to freedomsummer2026.com and I want you to start checking out the events that are scheduled already near you, the voter registration drives, the phone banks. I want you to check out the justice revivals and all the many, many ways you can plug in a town, a hood, a holler, a city near you. Y'all, we're going to keep on pushing. I'm so excited about this next conversation where we're going to get a little deeper into why Freedom Summer and a little bit about the state of voting rights as human rights. The next two people are homies of mine. Y'all are going to know them. You've heard this sister's name multiple times already on this call. Brittany Packnett Cunningham. She's a podcaster. She's a strategist. She's an activist. She's an organizer. And she is currently, people be forgetting she got a W-2 job. Like she be working for real, like an 80-hour week in an actual organization. She is the vice president and chief strategy officer of the Children's Defense Fund. And if that wasn't already mind-blowing that we somehow got lucky enough to have Brittany on this mass call, we got the president and the CEO of the Children's Defense Fund, another people's pastor, the incredible Reverend Starsky Wilson. So, Brittany, Reverend Starsky, I'm going to bring you up next. And Brittany, I'm going to kick it to you. Actually, no, Starsky, let's start with you. I want you to talk to me about why voting rights should matter. I mean, you run an organization that mostly is focused on young people, on children. Why does this Freedom Summer stuff and all this conversation about civics and voting rights actually matter to CDF?
No, thanks, Ash. Glad to be with the family. Glad to throw in this way. And frankly, it matters for our core mission. We're about building community so young people grow up with dignity, hope, and joy. And the reality is, you can't save a child if you won't support a family. You can't save a child if you won't build a community around that young person that allows them to thrive. And so our kind of continued mantra right now is that voting rights are children's rights. We recognize that we come to July, we just marked the anniversary of H.R. 1, a bill that impacted and directly attacked children. 40% of young people get their mental health services at a school. And we saw, because of Medicaid, about 80% of those services are provided to those young people at school because of Medicaid, which got cut just a year ago. That same bill attacked children's health. It took $187 billion worth of food off the plates of children through SNAP cuts, and more than 1.5 million children have had food support taken away from them in the last year because of that one piece of legislation. And so we're here because we recognize any attack on representation of Black and brown people. And let me get real specific in the interest and support of the call, and just put a little data on this for the folk here. When you reduce representation of Black people, specifically Black women, in Congress through the voting attacks, through the redistricting attacks on the Congressional Black Caucus, which disproportionately impact Black women, then you reduce your ability to advance a children's agenda, anybody's children. Dr. Nadia Brown, our dear sister who leads the Women and Gender Studies Department at Georgetown University, studies the legislative behaviors of Black women in her scholarship. And what she found is that Black women are more likely than any other legislator, state or congressional, to advance a children and family-friendly agenda. So when you see people attacking the ability to elect Black women by reducing the representation of Black people, then see that as an attack on your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your play cousins, and all of them. That is what that attack is about. And so the mobilization in Freedom Summer is about protecting our voting rights, getting us engaged in the voting conversation, and not just vote, but vote, voice, volunteerism, all the ways we engage our civics in order to make sure we can build a world for our children. Because I'm of the firm belief that this all changes when the children get free. So I'm about Freedom Summer. But what I've been preaching about on my revival circuit is what happens when the children get free. And I know Pastor Mike already grounded us, but I'm just going to go and throw it in for the free. He was in the Old Testament. I'm coming to the New. This is passed in Acts chapter 16, where a couple of the apostles roll up on a young slave girl who is being exploited by men who are colluding with the government. So economic interests colluding with the government to take advantage of a little girl who's walking around telling the truth. And what happens is they decide to call out the spirit in her. The spirit comes out, tell the people they got some power. They call out the spirit. The spirit comes out of her that very hour, and the child gets free. And a few things happen when the child gets free, and I'm done. Number one, when the child gets free, the powers begin to plot. Then the economic powers go get the magistrates, the governmental powers. It's kind of like if a trillionaire went into the government in order to strip out some contracts for himself, while he also sought to undermine investments in young people and education. It's what happens in this particular chapter. So the economic interests collude with the government interests in order. And so they start plotting with one another. They lock up the freedom fighters. So I'd say that to people to let you know there will be a price to pay in this. We will pay the price. We're willing to pay the price on behalf of our children. They lock up the freedom fighters. But when they lock them up, Ash knows this. There's this passage scripture. All the Baptists get happy when you say this. At midnight, Paul and Silas were praying. And what happens is the jail begins to shake. and the chains fall off and the doors open. So when the children get free, the powers plot, but the systems start shaking. And some of us need carceral systems to shake. We need child welfare systems to shake. We need HHS and these child health systems to shake. We need them to shake because when they shake, the chains fall off. The young people get free. The jailers get the prisoners get free. But there's also a dude who's a jailer who gets woken up by the earthquake, and he asks what it takes for him to get free. And so we know that we got people who are caught up in these systems too. It's their job to keep us locked up. We love them too. We love them with the love of the Lord. And we want these systems to shake so they can get free. But this story all starts when the children get free. So we're in this because voting rights are children's rights. We all need to throw our hands in to get our children free, because when the children get free and the powers plot, the systems shake, and all of us get saved.
Man, I know y'all can't see us in the Zoom, but we was having Justice Revival right here on the Zoom call, right here on the Zoom call. Y'all, I don't know about you. I've seen all night people talking about their kids and their grandkids, the legacy that we leave. I know that's why so many of you are here. And I know that there is nothing that we wouldn't do to prioritize our kids over corporations. Shout out to the North Carolina Education Association. I didn't come up with that. That was their tagline. Shout out to CDF and all of the sacred work that y'all are. I know y'all just coming off of Proctor at the Haley Farm. If y'all don't know about the Proctor Institute, y'all should check it out. If y'all don't know about Freedom Schools, you know I'm a Freedom School shenanigans. I love it. If you don't know about Freedom Schools, you need to be paying attention, y'all. There's so many programs and ways that young people to our elders can be involved in this incredibly important life-saving work. And to that end, I get to bring up my friend Brittany, who has been like, y'all, I can't even tell you how many. This is a mama, a full-time worker. Like, this woman has put so much energy into making sure that Freedom Summer could get to you. I need you to show her some love as she comes and she talks to us
We
about.
love you, Brittany.
We
We
love you,
love
Brittany.
you,
Like,
Brittany.
thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
thank
Thank you.
All
Listen,
love, all
Thank
I
love.
you.
love all of y'all. Ash, you are just a genius, and I'm so, so grateful that you are partnering up with us in this way. You all heard so much power on this call tonight already. But what this crew represents, it's just a small representation of the over 270 organizations that belong to the All Roads Lead South Coalition. Listen, Calais brought us to the table. This surgical attack on Black voting rights and Black representation brought us to the table. But freedom is what has kept us at the table, y'all. And when Melanie Campbell and Latasha Brown and Cliff Albright and April Albright and Janae Nelson, when they picked up the phone and they said, we need to get active because the Supreme Court is tripping, 279 organizations said, we have no pride of authorship. We have no pride of ego. We are going to get in where we fit in. We had vice presidents driving buses. We had pastors making phone calls. We had grandmothers and grandfathers picking up their nieces, their grandchildren and the nieces and grandnephews to make sure that they got outside. 6,000 people got outside after Calais in Montgomery. 2,000 people got outside in Selma. 8,000 people got outside in Mississippi just a few days later. And when we got back together, we said, you know what? It would be malpractice for us to not engage courageously in this moment. That is why it is Freedom Summer. This is a coordinated campaign of now, at this point, even more than 270 organizations who are throwing down every single day to put their time, talent, treasure, reputation, safety, their own personal freedom on the line for all of us. And you know why it's Freedom Summer? It's not the anniversary of Freedom Summer. It's not a nice round number of the original Freedom Summer in 1964. No, we understood that this was a moment where courage could not miss us. We understood that when people are abusive, the marginalized must say so. It is not okay for us to simply suffer in silence. They have to know that we see the abuses of their power, but we ultimately are the ones with the power. The power is ours and it's nobody else's. That is why it's Freedom Summer 2026. I talked about those surgical attacks on voting rights, and I want to break that down just a little bit more. Listen, I'm not a lawyer, even though my mama wanted me to go to law school. I'm a Black history scholar, major, and a former educator. So let me break this down for you. This attack, as I've said, on voting rights is surgical. And I say that because the attack is on Black voting rights in the South, Black representation across the country. But that's just the beginning. The intention was never, ever for this to end at voting rights. What we have to understand is that this is an intentional aim to return us to Jim Crow. And a lot of folks have different visions of what Jim Crow was and what it wasn't. We look at a whole lot of black and white film and think it was so long ago, and then it wasn't all that problematic because a whole bunch of people figured out a way to make it through. But let's be clear, Jim Crow was over 90 years of legal discrimination, abuse, and racial terror that not only cost Black people, but cost all of America. I want you to pick up a book called The Sum of Us by our friend Heather McGee. She talks about something called drain pool politics. And in America's desire to keep us segregated, they said we'd rather close the free community pools that were bright, gleaming Olympic-sized pools where everybody could swim for free. We'd rather close the pools for everybody than have Black people swim next to us. So when we engage in this kind of legal discrimination, this kind of racial terror that extended across this country for 90 years and was covered by governments, by mayors, by city councilors, by pastors, by people who thought that they were going to be empowered by that moment. When we engage in that kind of activity, Black people suffer the worst, but everybody pays for it. Let's be really clear. During that 90 years of Jim Crow, it took we went from multiple members of Congress that were Black to 0. It took 20 years to get another Black member of Congress. It took almost 70 years to get another Black member of Congress from the South. And when Black people are not in Congress, being the conscience of the Congress, it's not just Black people issues that are not in the room. It's healthcare, it's housing, it's climate destruction, it's living wages, it's educational equity, it's reparations. All of it is off the table if Black people are not invited to dine. So I want us to understand that while this was Black-led and Black-founded in this particular coalition, Freedom Summer 2026 is a multi-faith, multiracial, multi-ethnic, intergenerational movement. Because when Black folks win, everybody wins. And if you understand that, and you're down to be more than an ally and more than an accomplice, but to be a co-conspirator, then Freedom Summer is the place for you. Thousands of people have already mobilized all summer long who understand, as LaTosha Brown says all the time, it's nation building time. So folks are saying, why now? Why Freedom Summer now? Why not now? Why not us? If we on this call and those that we are connected to want to benefit from the new nation, if we want the benefits of the new world, then we have to help build it. That is our responsibility. And to be clear, it is our privilege, because there are people sitting in detention right now who wish they could march with us. There are people who've been deported right now who wish they could fight with us. There are young people right now who wish that they could go into the ballot box with us. There are elders right now who wish that they had access to the things that they need so that they could keep on keeping on. There are a whole lot of people who wish they could show up in ways that are being restricted and denied them right now. There are folks who are unsafe to come outside. There are folks who don't have any money to donate. There are folks who do not have the power or the access, rather, to do the kind of work that all of us are ready and willing to do on this call. So it's not just our responsibility. It is our great and utter privilege to fight for freedom. We are going to get free, y'all. That is a divine promise. I know and believe that we will win because we're going to do it together. So I'm grateful that you all are here for this Freedom Summer Mass Call, the first of many. And I'm going to be quiet now because now it's teaching time. Now we're going to learn a little bit about exactly how we going to get free, how many of us it's going to take, and how we're going to do it when we connect together. So Ash, I'm going to hand it back to you.
I mean, you see how she said we're going to get to teaching, like she didn't just put down a whole lesson.
Talk.
Lesson, sermon, all of it, all
I
of
was
it.
just trying not to follow the preacher. I don't preach on top of preachers. So I
mean, you definitely just preached on top of preacher. And there's this dude, he kind of good looking in the chat. He said in all capital letters, "That's my baby mama." You might want to holler him.
Hey, Reg, what's up?
Shout out to Kid Noble.
Also, I just want to let y'all know, I met my husband at a protest during the Ferguson uprising. So, come to Freedom Summer for the freedom, but maybe stay around for the love. You never know.
You might find your movement bay out here in these streets, honey.
All the single fellas.
Shout
Good
out
to
to my
see.
style rock. Also, Starsky, watch yourself. Yes, y'all, show some love to Reverend Starsky Wilson and Brittany Packnett Cunningham, aka Kid Noble's baby mama. We love y'all. Thank y'all for being on with us tonight. My friends, we have done so much so far, and yet there is still more. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you that this past weekend was John Lewis Good Trouble Weekend of Action, and I think I saw Barbara Arnwine in the chat. I want to shout out our fearless leader, the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, Barbara Arnwine, for leading us into that call to action. If you got down with the John Lewis Good Trouble Weekend of Action, highlight us in the chat. We want to shout you out. And now I want to, as Brittany said, spend a few minutes on political education because we call this Project Freedom Summer. And as we believe, names are commitments. We wouldn't have used that name if we weren't trying to live into and make proud the legacy of those that came before us who created and carried that name. If we're going to carry it, then we should know exactly what it cost those people who made it happen before us. We need to know what they actually did and what it demands from us between tonight through November and beyond it. So, three things we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about where the name comes from. We're going to talk about the backbone that both their work and ours runs on. And we're going to talk about this number that tells us what we have to do this Freedom Summer. So let's get into it. Mississippi, we're going to time travel. We're going to geographically travel for some of us to Mississippi in 1964. This state was the state with the largest percentage of Black residents in the country at the time. And 6.7% of those eligible Black voters were registered to vote. 6.7. That's the lowest rate in the United States at the time. Not because those Black people didn't care, but because the state built a machine to keep Black folks out of the process. Poll taxes, literacy tests that Black teachers, folks with PhDs routinely failed while white folks skipped the line. Your name printed in the local newspaper if you tried to participate. Your job gone because you dared to try to even register to vote. Your landlord knocking at the door with threats to your housing because you dared register to vote. And underneath all of it, a white supremacist terror. Bob Moses and the young organizers of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee had already been in Mississippi, some of them for years, getting beaten and shot at for walking people to a courthouse to register to vote. In the fall of 1963, they ran a project called the Freedom Vote. It was a mock election in churches and barbershops across the state, and around 80,000 Black Mississippians cast their ballots. I need you to hear me. I just told you it was 6.7 registered, right? The argument would have been that they didn't want to vote. They weren't registered. But when they were given an opportunity through this mock election to participate, around 80,000 Black Mississippians cast their ballots. It proved something that the state kept insisting wasn't true. Our people would vote the moment the door was open for them to. So in 1964, they made an even bigger bet. Under the Council of Federated Organizations, or COFO for short, that's the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that's the Congress of Racial Equality, that's the NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, all working together. They brought more than 700 volunteers, including white college students, into Mississippi to work alongside the thousands of Black Mississippians who had been fighting long before any bus arrived. The plan had three parts. I want you to hear this. Three parts. Register voters, open freedom schools, and build a political party. But you know, if Black folks were doing that in the South and Mississippi in the 1960s, you know that an authoritarian Christian nationalist white supremacist movement in the state had something to say about them doing that work, don't you? On June 21st, 1964, James Earl Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner drove to Neshoba County from Ohio to investigate a church burning. A deputy sheriff, himself a Klansman, arrested them, held them into the night, and then released them straight into an ambush. Their bodies were found 44 days later, buried in an earthen dam. And the summer kept coming. The National Archives puts the count at about 1,062 arrests. Freedom Summer workers were beaten. 37 churches were bombed or burned, at least. 30 Black homes and businesses were bombed and burned, at least. Civil rights workers were killed, and Black Mississippians were murdered for supporting the movement. Now, here's the part I need you to hold on to. Out of all that terror, out of all of that trauma, out of all that grief, out of all that opportunity, our elders and ancestors did not stop, y'all. They opened more than 40 freedom schools that summer. My mentor, Charlie Cobb's idea. And thousands of students showed up to learn Black history, civics, how registration actually worked. 17,000 Black Mississippians walked into courthouses to register, knowing that exactly what would come home and follow them after doing so. Fewer than 1 in 10 of those registered were allowed onto the scrolls. And they built the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. They sent a 68-member delegation to the Democratic National Convention in Atlantic City. Y'all know the story where Fannie Lou Hamer sat before the Credentials Committee on camera for the whole country to see and testified about what it costs to be a sharecropper just trying to vote in the state of Mississippi. The party's answer? To offer them 2 seats. 2. Mrs. Hamer said, "We didn't come all this way for no 2 seats when all of us is tired." So, if we were thinking about this fight on a scorecard in August of 1964, the scorecard would have said that the movement lost. Barely a dent in registration. No seats in Atlantic City. Loved ones murdered. Then a year later, August 1965, what happens? The Voting Rights Act is law. By 1967, Black registration in Mississippi had gone from 6.7% to almost 60%, from 1 in 15 to 3 in 5 in 3 years. So if we believe the scoreboard would have been lying to us. Now, why am I telling you this on an organizing call in 2026? Well, because Freedom Summer was never just about one tactic, y'all. Look at what they actually did that summer, and you'll see the same backbone that our work runs on right now. Every fight for democracy has at least 4 jobs in order on a timeline. Ensure, win, prove, and enforce. Y'all, it is our responsibility to ensure that the election happens. We got to make sure that people have access, that they know the rules, that they don't get screwed by the purges or these Jim Crow maps. And in this moment, the bigger question underneath all of this, that the vote gets held at all. Yeah, we got to win when we fight for these elections, for our ability to participate in politics. Our folks make plans to vote. We vote early. We mail in our ballots. We turn up and turn out with an unquestionable margin. We get as many of our people to the polls as possible. And then we got to prove we won. We protect the count, and we protect the folks that count them. The certification, the audits, we beat back the fake count play. And y'all saw that stupid speech, the one that Trump gave that's already trying to convince us about this fake count situation, right? We lock the real result in as the official record. We establish it, and we make sure that everybody knows and believes it. And then we enforce the results. When they refuse to certify, when they refuse to seat our newly elected officials, when they try to slow walk the handover, or they try to manipulate us into believing that we didn't win, we make them honor it anyway. That's where non-cooperation lives. When they lie and they try to make this slow coup that's already happening a fast coup, we use economic pressure and protest. We use our organized refusal to not let that coup stand. A coup that, again, quite frankly, has already started. And hear me on this. These are not 4 buckets where we can afford to just pick one favorite. This is one arc in time. And every single fight we run has to answer all 4 of these questions. Whatever your fight is, I need you to ask yourself, what am I doing to ensure what we want happens? How do I ensure that we win? How do I prove that we won? And how do I ensure that we enforce the results of that victory? Because here's the trap. Many of us just want to pile onto the large, loud, shiny parts. winning feels like the fight, or enforcing feels like a revolutionary intervention, right? Ensuring and proving sometimes to many people feels like busy work instead of sacred work, so we skip it. But go back to 1964. Freedom Summer was mostly inshore work. They went door to door. They built relationships. My mentor, Charlie Cobb, said that organizing was being embedded in a community, and that organizing looked like those relationships allowing that community to organize itself to take collective action and win. It looked like being in the courthouse lines. It looked like freedom school lessons on how a registration form worked. The freedom vote was proof work. It established with 80,000 ballots that the only thing suppressing the black vote in Mississippi was white supremacy. Atlantic City was enforce work, walking into the Democratic Party's own convention and demanding it honor its own rules. The unglamorous parts are why the loud, shiny parts landed. Don't only do the loud part. So, what must we do this Freedom Summer? Let's talk about numbers. Brittany hinted at this. I want to credit the researcher by name because on the Freedom Summer mass calls, we cite our sources. I want to shout out Erica Chenoweth with Maria Steffen, my dear friend, who studied 323 resistance campaigns across the 20th century, the 1900s, both violent and nonviolent movements all across the globe. They found two things that matter to us tonight. The first is that nonviolent campaigns succeeded about twice as often as violent ones. It's why we are a nonviolent movement. Second, the finding that people call the 3.5% rule. How many of y'all have heard about the 3.5% rule in the chat? If you have, I just want to see you. In this rule, in the historic record, no government withstood a peak mobilization of 3.5% of its population. Let me say that a different way. There is no authoritarian government that has been able to hold power if 3.5% of the population rise up and says absolutely not in sustained action and sustained non-cooperation. It's our duty to make sure that we recruit and organize our people to meet that 3.5% goal. And let me be real with you, because vibes are not strategy. That's a description of history. It's not a guarantee about the future, right? Just because that's what it's been doesn't mean that's what it will be. We have to make it so. And Erica Chenoweth has published cautions about waving around that number like a magic flag. But the direction of the evidence is not ambiguous. Sustained, organized, nonviolent mass participation gets the goods. And it wins at a scale smaller than despair and pessimism keeps telling us. So you don't believe me, that's fine. Do the math for yourself for this country. 3.5% of the United States is about 12 million people, right? 12 million sounds impossible until you set it next to another number. So the number I would offer you sit that 12 million next to is the 89 million. Some of you have seen my essay on it. The 89 million eligible voters that did not vote in 2024. 88 to 90 million eligible voters did not vote in the 2024 election. In fact, if I'm not voting for either candidate was a candidate on the ballot, it would have won, right? 12 million is fewer than 1 in 7 of those eligible voters that did not vote. 1 in 7. Those are our people, y'all. We have to organize our own. And let me tell you something that I know good, as my daddy would say. Those folks are not lost. They're just unorganized. So here's the assignment coming at you for tonight. 3 things. Number 1, I want you to pick your fight. I want you to get in the mud with us. I want you to help build Freedom Summer. And if you don't know how to get down, there's multiple options here. You can go to freedomsummer2026.com and you can just sign up to attend an event that's already on the books. You can click the link if you're in a faith community to the faith practices that we're doing. Y'all, like, there's so many justice revivals and so many ways that you can plug in. There's daily prayer calls and fasts, all sorts of things that you can plug into. And if you are like, that's cool, I'm also looking for campaign work, but I don't know what to do, I want you to go to chooseyourfight.com. Again, chooseyourfight.com. I want you to Fill it out, take the quiz, make your plan. And when you've got it, when you've chosen a fight, I want you to run it through all 4 questions that we talked about earlier. Does it ensure? Does it win? Does it prove? Does it enforce? So again, 2 links for you, freedomsummer2026.com and chooseyourfight.com. Those are the ways that you're going to pick your fight. So number 2, I need you to mark your calendar. There's some days that are coming that we all need to be prepared to take action. The first is National Voter Registration Day. That's September 15th. And then the second is a day that you're going to hear ad nauseum, not only on our calls, but probably on everybody's mass calls, right? Election Day is November 3rd. And between now and then, I need you to be checking your voter registration. Y'all, people are going to tell you to do it every month. I'm going to tell you to do it at least every month. I do mine every week, every 2 weeks at the longest, because let's be real, these purges that are coming from the right wing don't run on our timeline. And we need to make sure that all of our folks are registered to vote so that they can participate fully. So number 1, pick your fight. Number 2, mark your calendar. Number 3, I need you to bring somebody with you. 3.5% is not some slogan or hashtag. It's a head count. It is concrete and scientific. And it gets built. We get closer to that 3.5%. One person, one relationship at a time. So before our next call, your singular job is to secure a commitment from at least one other person who wasn't on tonight's call to build their voting plan with you. In 1964, they walked into those courthouses knowing what it was going to cost them. And they built the thing that outlasted the summer, right? We're building structures, not just heroes. Nobody is coming to hand us a permission slip to do this, and we don't need one. Nothing's going to get handed down to us. It is our responsibility to build that 3.5%. And in a moment where, and I think Sister Melanie said this earlier, where the enemy, where evil forces are destroying everything, it is creating the conditions for us to build everything we've ever wanted. I think we ought to get to work to do that. All right, my loves. Now we have come to the portion of our call where I kick it back to our incredible speakers, and we've got 2 more firecrackers that are going to be so incredible. Y'all, these 2 women are doing work all over the country. The first is my dear sister, Tequila Johnson. If you don't know Tequila, she is one of Tennessee's baddest. She is the CEO and co-founder of the Equity Alliance in Tennessee. You should know them. You should follow them. You should give them money. I want you to check out Tequila Johnson on all your socials. I want you to check out the Equity Alliance on all of your socials. And the second speaker that'll be coming to close us out is our beloved sister, who is literally moving mountains to be on the call with us tonight. My homie and my friend, Angela Rye, attorney, principal, podcast host, strategist, and CEO of Impact Strategies. So, Tequila, let's kick it off with you. Tell me what's going on in Tennessee and why you and the Equity Alliance are throwing down with Freedom Summer.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on this call, Ash, and thanks everybody for joining. As you guys know, when the Supreme Court ruling came down, Tennessee rushed. Our crazy, super extremist legislator rushed to redraw our maps. And we did not sit by idly and allow that to just happen. We knew, because of the spirit of our ancestors in Tennessee, the spirit of movement that flows through the South, that if we did not act, rights were going to keep getting repealed. And so we launched, and when we saw other people throwing down, we said, we are stronger, we are more powerful when we lock arms and when we stand together. It's not enough for us to just say the South has something to say. The South is everywhere, and we know as goes the South, so goes the nation. And so it was important for us to make sure that we not only just represented this fight in our state, but that we locked arms with people all across this country and let those in power know we will not stand for fascism. We will not stand for this white supremacist, white nationalist group coming in our state, coming in our country, and taking away the rights that our ancestors fought for. So, August 6th, Tennessee has an election on the ballot. It's a primary election, but I like to tell people our primaries are are prime practice. We are priming the soil as our ancestors did in the South when we used our agricultural knowledge to build this country. We are priming the soil to get ready to grow what we know we need to do in November, and we are not backing down. Somebody, before I got on this call, one of my interns asked me, why are we doing all of this? Why are we knocking on doors? Why are we telling people to vote? But we looking around and the same things are happening. And I told him, I said, let me tell you something. We are not here to finish or finalize freedom. Nobody ever fought for freedom because they knew they were fighting for the finalized version. We are here simply to push it forward, to hand it over. 250 years our people fought for their freedom. And a lot of times when you hear people talk about our ancestors fighting for freedom, they make it sound like it was one little thing here, one little thing there. No, 250 years of fight, of resistance, of pushback, of rebellions to make sure that if you didn't get a taste of freedom, somebody coming behind you did. Many of our ancestors died in the Atlantic and never even got to touch American soil. And so for us to get here and say, we don't see the fruit that we think we should see today, so we're going to give up, is blasphemy. We cannot let that happen. We cannot let what we see happening in the news, what we see happening on social media cause us to lose hope, because when we lose hope, that is when the enemy wins. You know, we can't just go to the voting booth and expect that we're going to go in there and we're going to cast the ballot and everything is going to change. We have to vote like we know what happens when we don't. Because our ancestors knew that. They knew that going to the voting booth might mean you might get a chance to pick someone who has who wouldn't have a badge today and put a hood on tomorrow. You might get a chance to vote for a judge that wouldn't hide the body of a black boy in Mississippi. You might get a chance to vote for a DA that wouldn't let a little black boy go missing on Horn Island without calling for the justice. And that's how we have to show up and vote. And I'm praying as a daughter of the South, someone who sees it, who watches our state legislator every day and listens to them say stuff like, we should bring back hanging as a form of punishment. Watches them say things like, oh, these people don't deserve to breathe. Watching our state legislators turn around and allow them to dump oil and all types of harmful chemicals in our creek. Watching the people who are in power do things without even considering how it will impact the people. We are going to vote against them and vote for what we want. And so I just pray and I hope that if I can inspire anything on this call, it doesn't matter what you look like. I don't care where you worship at. I don't care who you love. What I care about is what is in your heart. And if your heart beats for humanity, my prayer is that you join this Freedom Summit movement, because it is going to take all of us. We know that Black communities bear the burden of bad policy and bad legislators. We know that we are at the bottom of the boot when it comes to justice in this country. But when Black people stand up and that boot rises, all tides will rise with us. So I don't care what you look like, who you pray to, who you love. I care about, do you care about humanity? And if you are someone that cares about humanity, please go to those websites, sign up, pick your fight. No matter if you're making phone calls, knocking doors, folding up t-shirts, making sandwiches for the people on the front lines, you have a place in this movement. And not only do we need you, but we welcome you with open arms. Thank you, Ash.
We love you, Tequila. We love you.
Love y'all too, sisters.
And listen, as a Tennessee, y'all know I'm a Southern supremacist, but if I'm a Southern supremacist, you know I feel a particular way about the great state of Tennessee. And I just want to tell you that one of the great privileges of my life was being locked arm in arm with Tequila Johnson in that Capitol the day that these fools thought they beat us with these gerrymandered Jim Crow maps. But let me tell you something. These white supremacists, these folks that are colluding with Nazis, these women that won't go to debates but want to run for office, they should shake in their boots that people like me and Tequila continue to stay and love on our state. And there are Black folks that locked arms with us who should feel every single one of the hundreds of people on this call like the wind beneath their wings as they run for these offices in these impossible circumstances. So Tequila, I want to thank you for your leadership and your guidance and your comradeship. Thank you for the word that you preached to these folks tonight. Angela Rye, take us home, man. Why Freedom Summer?
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for doing this. I apologize for the noise. I am at an outing, looking at baseball, trying to find my Black joy in the midst of everything that's going on. But I just want to say this, what's on my heart right now, when you talk about why Freedom Summer, I think we have to reflect on our history. And what we know is that our people have always come through. Sadly, we respond very well to crisis. I wish that we were better at planning. But Ash, what you lead us in all the time is a stark reminder of why we have to never stop working, while the toiling has to continue, while we always have to sow these seeds so that we can reap a bountiful harvest, and that the organizers and our normal leaders are not the ones who are burning out. We know the harvest is ready and the workers are few. But I do want to just say, especially in this era where our history is being challenged, I was thinking about Newport Gardner earlier, and I encourage you all to look him up. Newport Gardner received his freedom in Rhode Island. And instead of just sailing off into the sunset and, just taking care of his family and his kids, he was one of the key people that worked to build mutual aid societies. I know we're talking about Freedom Summer. I know we're talking about All Roads Lead to the South. I know we're talking about the primaries that are still coming. I know we're talking about the midterms. I'm here at the NAACP convention. We're talking about All Roads Lead to November. But on the other side of that election in November, there's going to be pain that is exacted on all of our communities. Our ancestors, in our DNA resides the ability to build mutual aid networks. We have to ensure we are leaning into what our people need. So we're not just saying, we need you to show up to this event. We're not just saying, we need you to come to this virtual gathering. We're not just saying, we need you to turn out to the polls. We're saying we also need you to identify whatever your skill set is and your gift that you can pour back into the community. The community will pour back into you, and we will never get tired. We will always have enough. We will be an abundant resource. That is what we've got to tap into right now. It is spiritual warfare, but it is also practical warfare. It is not new to see the violence that racism causes in our community. What I think is new, and I think what is our opportunity here, is to really determine what coalition looks like. No matter who the line leader is. When I was a kid, Ash, I loved to be the line leader in class. But somebody else got to take a turn sometimes. Somebody else might have another part of the vision to help us fulfill the mission. And I think that's what we got to focus on right now. So figure it out. What has God put in your hands to do? As Tequila said, I don't care who you pray to, but tap in so you know what your skill is, what your gift is, what your talent is, and how you're going to meet this moment. I always tell people, come if you're called. We are being called now. You are being called. If you didn't know, take this as your order. Come to the table with whatever position you're supposed to play. Play your part, get into position, and let's fight this war. Let's fight these devils. We got to go.
We got to go. And I don't get into fights I don't think I can win. And I
Listen.
know I can win with women like y'all at the helm. Angela Rye, Tequila Johnson. I love you with everything I got. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me tell you how my friends moved mountains to be on this call with us tonight. And they did it not just because I asked them, because Brittany asked them, because we hounded them. They did it because they love y'all. So here's where it lands. I'm not going to let you leave this call tonight with just a good feeling, because a good feeling, again, is not a strategy. A good feeling doesn't redraw the gerrymandered map in my state or stop our neighbors from being ripped off the voter rolls. Our vibes and inspiration alone will not get a fascist dictator out of the White House or people that actually are working families champions into Congress. So I'm going to ask each and every one of you for one thing tonight. I mean, I've asked you for a bunch of things, but I'm going to land it with one thing. One thing before this week is out, one thing this month, one thing for the long haul. And the first one I want in the chat right now while we're together, because the people who will be as disciplined enough to follow this instruction and write it down in the chat tend to be the people that actually show back up. So tonight, the floor, the single thing that every single one of you on this call can do right now before you go to sleep, before you get off this call, is get connected and check your voter registration, because they're counting on us not to notice when we've been removed from the voter rolls, right? So You can check your registration. Shout out to Pastor Mike and the Live Free fam at livefreelovefree.com/let's vote now. Again, livefreelovefree.com/let's vote now. And again, if you missed it in the chat, it's no big deal. We're going to make sure you get all these links after the call. This week, because we're not done, Freedom Summer needs your commitment to action, beloved. So before this week closes, I want you to do one more thing. I want you to go to freedomsummer2026.com and I want you to find an action, a registration drive, a revival, an activation in your city. I already saw some folks in the chat reminding us about the March on Washington. Y'all, it's already up on the map, right? In Washington, D.C. in August, in just a few weeks. So pull up that map. Find what's near you. Find the action nearest your holler or hood and put your body there. I need you to make that commitment in the next week. And for the long road, I want you to commit to something that lasts. I want you to recruit folks to participate in Freedom Summer. Join one of our partner organizations. Be the one who keeps showing up after the call ends when the work starts. Y'all, before we leave, I want you to put your first commitment in the chat. And y'all know me, I'm passive aggressive enough to remember and remind you on our next mass call, check in to see if we're keeping our commitments. So if you're checking your registration tonight, I want you to type I'm in. If you're signing up to host or attend a Freedom Summer activation, I want you to type signing up. And I want you to remember, nobody but us is coming to save us. And we have everything we need in our bones to do it. I hear Mama Naya Watkins saying it in my ear. That's always been true. And it's always been enough because look at who we are. Look at who the us is. I want to shout out Mayday Strong and Act TV and Free Speech TV for streaming this. All the partner organizations that have made tonight possible and have made All Roads Lead to the South and Freedom Summer a possibility. I want to love up on every single one of you individually who did not regard it robbery to be on this call tonight. But now I want you to go get some rest. I want you to go get your people. I want you to work across difference. I want you to be embedded in your community so that you can be in right relationship and support a community to make and set an agenda and sustain it. I want to make sure you stay connected so that we can get the word to you when it's time to move again. So make sure you register for the mass call when we put it back out again. Good people, I love you, I respect you, and I want you to be free. See you next time.